Well, if the question is, did Paul not identify the time of the cessation of the charismatic gifts as being the coming of Christ? The answer is no, he didn't. He said, when that which is perfect has come, prophecies, etc., they'll fail. Tongues will peter out. Now, he identifies the period of that happening as that which is perfect. Now, the big question is, what does that refer to? Most people simply, glibly jump to the conclusion that's the coming of Christ. But is it? There are many arguments that could come into play here. But let's stick to the one thing that is very, very simple. And there's no mistaking of it. And I want to emphasize, I'm not sticking to the one because there's not quite a lot of others in 1 Corinthians 13. There's plenty to go around. But we read at the end of the chapter, now abideth faith, hope, and love. Now, understand, he's talking about that which is abiding, as faith, hope, and love. These things remain. The word abideth means these remain. He's speaking of this age and not the age to come. Now, follow me very carefully here. Now remain. That's this age. These are the things that are still remaining. But he has just talked about things that will cease, things that will not remain, but now remain in this age. He's not talking about a future age there at all. That contrast between that which is to cease and that which is to remain, what does that mean? Remain after the cessation of those things. In other words, there is a core, the essence of Christianity is still with us. The charismatic gifts were not of the essence of the faith. They were used of God at a time. But the essence remains. Now, if you understand that Paul in 1 Corinthians 13 is talking about some things that will stop or peter out, be taken away, and some things that will not stop, they will remain. You'll see immediately he's speaking of this present age. It can't be the future age, because Paul teaches us that when Jesus comes, faith gives place to sight. Hope, you don't, he says emphatically, you don't hope for what you have already received. And so when Christ comes, there's no more hope. Hope's finished. Christ is here. When he says, now remaineth faith, hope, love, these three, he's talking about remaining in this present age. Remaining because the other things have been taken away. Now that shouldn't surprise us. Do you realize, some people have the notion, that the Bible's just full of streams of miracles and great millions of miracles all the time. But it's not so. While there were individual demonstrations of miraculous power, yet there were only 3 periods in entire biblical history when there were multiple miraculous demonstrations. One was in the days of Moses. The next was in the days of Elijah and Elisha. And the third in the days of Christ and his apostles. Those were the 3 great periods of multiple manifestations of miraculous power. Not one of them, certainly the first 2, did not last beyond a century. And that's true of the third one as well. So we shouldn't be surprised. Paul places the cessation of tongues and other charismatic gifts in this present age, not the future age. And as I indicated in answer to another question, they have ceased. The tongues have ceased. The charismatic gifts have ceased. God is working with power in answer to prayer. among his people. I do not for a moment deny the reality of the spiritual power of the Holy Spirit of God in the ministry of his word. I look for that power. But these charismatic and miraculous gifts were for the apostolic age, and they're certainly not the ongoing experience of the church through the centuries, nor were they intended to be.